Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Conrad Gorlinski, and this is the news. Well, it's the 18th day of war and another restless night. In Lviv and Kherson, explosions were heard overnight from Saturday to Sunday. In Jaworów in the Lviv region, rockets hit a significant military training ground. 35 people were killed and 134 injured. Also, anti-aircraft alarms sounded in, among others, Kiev, Rivne, Ternopil, Vinnytsia, Zhytomyr, and Odessa. According to the Ukrainian broadcaster Pravda, Russian troops used phosphorus missiles last night. President Volodymyr Zelensky warned that the Russians are once again using strategies known to us from history. He also announced that Ukraine's top priority right now is the rescue of Mariupol. The invaders in the Kherson region are trying to repeat the well-known maneuver of creating pseudo-republics. In this way, they want to blackmail local leaders and put pressure on deputies. They're looking for bribery. They're trying to organize some committees against the lawful authority in our land and against the will of the people who go out to protest every day and want their Ukraine. Ukrainian Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov once again called for the closing of the skies over Ukraine. He also informed about further Russian attacks. Russia attacked the International Center for Peace and Security near Lviv. Foreign instructors work there. Information on the effects of the bombing are being confirmed. This is a new terrorist attack on peace and security near the EU-NATO border. Close the sky to stop this. During the night, Russian rockets fell on the training ground in Jaworów. The unit is located only 30 kilometers from the border with Poland. Located there is the International Center for Peacekeeping and Security Operations. The airport in Ivano-Frankivsk was also destroyed. Jaworów was shelled by Russians last night. The hospital, which we supply in this city, is approximately 20 kilometers from our Polish border. Our volunteers were there only yesterday. We cannot wait. Our 3 ambulances filled to the roof with dressings, medication, and food have just left for Jaworów. They will stay there. They will evacuate the wounded and help the most needy. The explosions were also heard in our warehouses in Cieszanów. The windows in Lubachów shook. War has not been so close to us. Glory to the defenders of freedom. Disgrace to the Russian invaders. We are supported by the Kościuszko Foundation. Crimes are being committed in Ukraine on a daily basis. In the territory of Zaporizhia, a Russian tank crushed a civilian vehicle. As a result, 2 adult men and a teenage boy were burned to death. The Russians, apart from murdering civilians, are also kidnapping people. So far, they've kidnapped the mayors of Melitopol and Dniprorodna. In both cases, due to the fact that they refused to cooperate with the Russians. A warning, the mayor was captured by the occupiers who were gathering near the bridge where he's being held. Bastards. As reported by the Ukrainian side, the Russians have lost, among others, over 12,000 soldiers, 374 tanks, 1,226 armored vehicles, and 74 aircraft since the beginning of the war. In Ukraine, one can witness real unity in these difficult times. On the first day, with my brother, we realized that this was probably World War III. We were all very scared. We started to do what we had always planned, to help. We're against death, we're against war. We only have one life, and where there is harm, volunteers simply go and help the injured. We will heal the wounds and pain of our country and our city. We're ready to rebuild everything after the end of the war. We're here. We're not going anywhere. Meanwhile, in Odessa, artists from the National Opera performed a concert calling for peace and the imposition of a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Ukraine's human rights spokeswoman Ludmila Denisova announced today that 14 humanitarian corridors are to be set up with aid, among others, to the besieged Mariupol. Yesterday, President Andrzej Duda signed a special act meant to help Ukrainian citizens currently in Poland. Refugees from Ukraine may now obtain a PESEL number and set up a trusted government profile. School children and students can also continue their education in Polish schools and universities. Refugees from Ukraine will also be entitled to financial assistance. More people are dying on the streets of Ukraine. Desperate mothers with children are fleeing to Poland looking for shelter and a sense of security. As of February 24th, nearly 1,700,000 people have come to Poland from Ukraine. Yesterday, our border guards cleared about 80,000 people. This is an increase of 5%. The most at the border crossing is in Medyka, 21,500, in Dorohusk, about 13,000, and in Hrebenne, over 11,000. Today, by 7 a.m., nearly 17,000 people arrived from Ukraine.
I came from Kharkiv with my parents because there was so many explosions and like there was bombing every time. I have like only one desire, that I want everything to finish as soon as possible and like to live in peace.
My favorite country is Ukraine. We were bombed there. Ochtrika is completely destroyed. Trostianets is completely destroyed. Sumy is partially destroyed. Russian troops have entered and are firing. We didn't ask for this. We had a good life. We don't know what they want from us. I brought the children because they're under fire there. Other children suffered a lot. Buildings and hospitals were destroyed, many of them. Pursuant to the provisions of the Special Act, refugees from Ukraine will be able to legally stay in Poland for 18 months. The act also provides for the assignment of a PESEL number. Assistance to refugees from Ukraine is also provided by voivodes and local governments. It can be inter alia for accommodation or the provision of full board. Each entity, in particular a natural person running a household who will provide accommodation and meals to Ukrainian citizens, will be able to receive a benefit on the basis of an application submitted to the municipality. An assistance fund will also be established. Funds from it will be allocated in particular to financing or co-financing tasks related to assistance provided to Ukrainian citizens. Ukrainian citizens will also have the right to work in Poland and will be able to apply for a one-time maintenance benefit in the amount of 300 Polish zlotys per person. Each citizen of Ukraine legally residing in Poland will have guaranteed access to the public healthcare system on the same terms as Polish citizens. Solutions will be introduced that will also allow for the provision of education. The key points of the act are legal residence in Poland for 18 months, a PESEL number, accommodation assistance, assistance in providing food. A person providing accommodation and food for Ukrainian citizens will be able to receive a cash benefit, establishment of an assistance fund, the right to work in the territory of Poland, access to social benefits, one-time cash benefit of 300 PLN per person, access to the public healthcare system, and access to education. We are in constant contact with the Polish government with regards to assistance, both in the short and the long term, and this particularly for the care of children who are arriving, but also for entire families. A special act came into force today, introduced by President Duda, which lays out concrete assistance, and concrete actions are being undertaken with respect to the act. In connection with Russia's aggression towards Ukraine, the Minister of Family and Social Policy, Marlena Maląg, spoke today with the Ukrainian ambassador to the Republic of Poland. The meeting summarized the government's actions to date for refugees from Ukraine. Today, together, we're giving shelter, we're giving our hearts, and a feeling of security. Ukrainian citizens arriving on the territory of the Republic of Poland have and will receive assistance. We are fully prepared for this. Yesterday, Poland's First Lady, Agata Kornhauser-Duda, turned to the First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska. The First Lady supported her Ukrainian counterpart's appeal for people of goodwill to join the peaceful fight for truth. The President's wife also assured the citizens of Ukraine of continued assistance. Our greatest concern surrounds as the little patients at Ukrainian hospitals. You can be sure that they will have access to the best medical care here. Children and their mothers are together, and all of their needs will be met. We will do everything we can to make sure that their loved ones who are at this moment back in Ukraine fighting off brutal aggression not need to worry about their fates. As part of the government's support project for Ukrainians, a new website was launched called pomagamy.ukrainie.gov.pl. At this address, citizens of Ukraine can, among other things, find comprehensive information about entry into Poland, the location of reception points, as well as the legalization of their stay. Information is available in 4 languages: Polish, Ukrainian, Russian, and English. Polish President Andrzej Duda was a guest on a morning show on the BBC today. He spoke about the threat of a possible chemical attack on Ukraine. According to the president of Poland, if Russia launched a chemical attack or used any other weapon of mass destruction, it would be a game changer for NATO. Asked if the use of chemical weapons by Putin would be a red line for NATO, a point at which it would have to get involved, Duda said this on the BBC this morning.
Well, of course, everybody hopes that he will not dare do that he will not use weapons of mass destruction, neither chemical weapons, nor biological weapons, nor any form of nuclear weapons. Everybody is hoping that this is not going to happen. But as we say in Poland, using a little bit of an English expression, if he uses any weapons of mass destruction, then this will be a game changer in the whole thing. And for sure, the North Atlantic Alliance and its leaders, led by the United States, will have to sit at the table, and they will really have to think seriously what to do. Because then it starts to be dangerous, not only for Europe, not only for our part of Europe or our region, for Central Europe, but for the whole world.
Duda also said Poland was not transferring fighter jets to Ukraine, despite President Volodymyr Zelensky's requests, and that NATO would not enforce a no-fly zone over Ukraine, as it could result in an opening, possibly, of a third world war, due to potential direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. And finally, during Sunday Mass at St. Peter's Square this afternoon, Pope Francis issued his toughest condemnation yet of the war in Ukraine, saying the aggression must stop. Speaking to thousands of people at St. Peter's Square for his Sunday blessing, Francis also referred to the bombing of hospitals and other civilian targets as barbaric and as having no valid strategic purpose. In the name of God, I ask you to stop this massacre, he said, adding that Ukrainian cities risked being reduced to cemeteries. He ended his address with a moment of silence. God is only a God of peace and not a God of war, and those who support violence profane his name. Now let us pray in silence for those who suffer, and to ask God to convert hearts to a firm will for peace. As usual, thanks for joining us this evening. I hope you've had a great weekend, and please stick around for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and other programs. But from me, it's have a great week ahead.